Self-worth and self-confidence are two pieces of the same puzzle, but two completely separate entities and two separate things. But we absolutely need both. I'm going to say that again. My work is not my worth. It's who I am. Who we are as individuals and human beings is our worth. Self-worth is knowing that what's going to come from this, you deserve. I hadn't become a vibrational match for feeling worthy of that. Welcome back, loves, to another episode of Anything Goes with Anna Rose. And I'm rolling a solo episode today. This is the joy and the power, essentially, of having my own podcast mini studio set up in the home. And it was really the massive intention of why Katie and I did it. And then, of course, Ryan sort of assembled the whole thing. Shout out to the dream team. But it was so that when moments of inspiration struck, I was going to say stroked, struck, I could just sit and have a really honest conversation with you all, which is my jam. And the last 24 hours, I have hit the nail on the head of a feeling that I have been having for a couple of weeks now without allowing myself to really acknowledge it and feel it. And that is the conversation I wanted to have with you today. And it is all centered around self-worth. But I really want to talk to you about the difference between, and this is like the big epiphany that I feel like I've had the last 24 hours. So the difference between self-worth and self-confidence, and how to actually move the needle forward and to magnetize all of your deepest desires and your true worth. You really, really need to work on this self-worth piece. Now, a couple of things as I record this episode. If you're watching it on the YouTube, if you're watching it on YouTube, hi. I hope that it's as interactive, essentially, like me just literally staring down the barrel of the camera as can be. But I do love this new format. I love that you can watch it if you're a visual person, you can listen if you are a auditory, is it auditory? I think that's right, person. And I just get to come to you in all these different ways. So let's dive straight in. The biggest feeling that I have not been able to nail, and I felt so many emotions around it. And I'm going to just be really honest, that's my thing. And I actually want to start by saying this. The beautiful thing about me is when I show up in any capacity, actually, in anywhere, in any capacity, in any way, shape, or form in my life, all I am sincerely doing is literally just sharing what is real and true and typically raw for me. And in my life, I have had a pretty big life. I'll never stop having a pretty big life. I pursue big goals and big things and big energies and all of the things. But I absolutely learn my lessons, but I earn my lessons. And so this one I'm about to bring to you today, this lesson around self-worth versus self-confidence, is a lesson that I feel like I have learned for sure the last couple of weeks, but it's really one that I have fucking earned, and poetically and like figuratively, but literally it's one that I've earned because it's been around this fear feeling. I don't know. That's probably it. Fear and feeling around bringing in Katie, my incredible new rock star and best friend, into the team, which has brought inadvertently, which I was unawares of, a lot of self-worth issues. So let me explain. I want to start by saying work that I am consistently doing on myself is constantly ensuring that I'm aware that my work is not my worth. I'm going to say that again. My work is not my worth, right? My income is not my worth. My materialistic things, my house, my car, my bank accounts, my investment portfolios, none of those external things are my worth, right? Nothing external of me is my worth. So as I am consistently pursuing and driving and doing What I aim and often fail, but aim daily to come back to is not what I'm doing, which is the external, but it's actually who I'm being. And this was this big epiphany that I had in the last, like I said, 24 hours. So what's come up for me? So first of all, so there's that, right? My work is not my worth. My income is not my worth. My car is not my worth. It's who I am. Who we are as individuals and human beings is our worth. Just who we be, not what we do. And so for me, I have really been working on that because I'm at a level in my business and I'm at a level in my life where I'm in a growth zone again. 100%. I've taken on more risk with a new staff member, Katie, again because I'm now paying a wage essentially, which I've done before. I've done for years now with Kel, Jess, Kenny, but Katie's come in the most many hours capacity as anyone has ever done for me, which is incredible, and it's going to be life-changing, and this is the point. But so the last couple of weeks I've taken on more risk, and I'm just at a level though where I've felt it for a little while. I have just been in the startup stage. I have been in the working in my businesses, my 3 companies. And now I'm able to, in a moment, not exactly yet, probably in about a week, we're still just getting systems and structures and things set up. But in about a week, I'm going to be able to really start to focus on my companies and on growth. So on all of the jobs that I should be doing as the CEO. So marketing, Facebook ads, Meta ads, doing daily, tracking my income, like profit and loss essentially in spreadsheets daily, knowing my numbers, which I do at a macro level, but I really want to go into the business and do that on a micro level, which is what I should be doing, especially at this point. So anyway, all of this is going on, right? And there's just a lot going on behind the scenes. There's a lot. I mean, this is just a whole other thing. I'm not ready and don't want to talk about it yet, but on the podcast. But I lost one of my longest friends, Ash, brutally about a month ago now, just over a month ago. So I've been grieving that whilst keeping all the balls in the air for my companies, whilst weeks before I had lost her, hiring Katie, and that responsibility doesn't go away. I have to pay wages. So I couldn't delay starting her essentially. So she had come in a really sad time in my life as I was grieving another beautiful friend. So all of this is to say that all of this has been going on in my life. There has been a lot. And no buts ever, at the same time, I have been acutely aware of this emotion and feeling that I couldn't put my finger on. And I couldn't understand how I was feeling. I couldn't really articulate or process what was going on for me. And then last night in bed, as I was reading a book, it hit me in this big, beautiful wave. And it was, I'm scared, right? And I said it aloud. I was like, is that what it is? And I said it aloud. I said, I'm scared. And I'll probably get emotional again, but I put my book down and I sat up in my own bed, and Ryan's away at the moment, so I'm by myself, and I would have done it with him beside me, to be honest. And I sat up and I said it again. I said, I'm scared. And I burst into tears, and I was like, oh, finally. Like, that's the feeling that I've been having. And as you all know, if you've ever listened to me talk ever, I always talk about it's the hill I die on. All feelings want to be felt. They are just welcome visitors in my body, in my life. And that's all they want. They just want to be felt, acknowledged, processed, and moved on and through your body. But because I had not acknowledged this fear, feeling scared, it wasn't moving through my body. It was getting trapped in my tissues, in my muscles, as emotions do when we don't move them and transmute them. And so I don't judge it. I never judge a feeling. I don't make a story about it. And I just allowed it to sit in my body then. I was like, okay, welcome fear. Like, hello, scared. I'm Anna. We are old friends. Good to have you here. Feel whatever you need to feel. Like, I don't know how this is going to process. I don't know how long this is going to process. And I don't even really know why you're here, but you're feeling like I'm feeling scared. So that was that. I got up the next morning. This morning I went and trained, did an incredible session, and then I went for a big walk to keep moving this sort of scared feeling through my body. And on that walk, it hit me. And this is the lesson, and these are the conversations that I wanted to come to you today and have. And I was walking and I was like, why are you scared? Because you've got big lady balls, Anna, right? I'm like, like, so taking Katie on, for example, and at this point I could break it down to, I felt like I'm at a new level now. 100%. I was like, I've taken on someone pretty much almost full time. And that's incredible and necessary. And I'm in a position in business where I absolutely can, but I've never done it before. And so I was like, you are at a new level of responsibility. And to the point, or to speak to that point, I still, at this point, if I hadn't have started Katie, would happily be offline. I'd be in a ball. I'd be on the couch. I'd still be processing some fear. I'd be up and about and working in the companies and stuff still. But I pay a wage now. I have to give her work to do as well, right? So, and I love this because she'll be editing this. So right. So I was like, I'm playing at a different level. People's own livelihoods absolutely depend on me now. And that made me feel scared, and that was okay. And so I was like processing it. And then, so I'm walking today and I'm like, okay, you feel scared because you're playing at another level. You have this weapon of a woman in your companies now, literally able to help you come out of the day-to-day operations and have me work on my business, not in my business, right? Do all of the needle moving activities that I need to do and should be doing as CEO. And so there was that hat, right? So all of those things. So you've got this weapon. And then it was like, and then you're paying her way more hours than I ever paid Kenny, for example, my incredible ex social media manager. And that's all she had done. So this is different roles anyway. But there was just all of these things, right? I'm processing, if you can't tell, with you. So this is how I was feeling. And I was like, where has this fear come from though? Because you've got the confidence. Like I made the decision to make this hire. I know that the, absolute surplus of income that could pay her for years without me earning another dollar, right? Right now in my businesses. I know I'm ticking all these boxes in my head. And I was walking and I was like, you know what, though, sis? That's just self-confidence. You have so much self-confidence. But if I took off that mask of self-confidence, because let me tell you, and this is the hill that I consistently die on, I will, like, courage. I just did this. I had a whole piece on this in the last episode around bravery and courage. To me is stepping out, speaking up, showing up before you feel sometimes ready. That's self-confidence. And I've got that because often I speak even when my voice shakes. I say yes, even when I'm terrified. I'll go on stage even if I'm shaking, right? I have the courage to do all those things, but that's confidence. That's self-confidence. And when I went back inward and I met little Anna this morning, I was like, what's going on for you, chick? This is what I always do when I'm like trying to process and feel feelings. Because 9 times out of 10, when we're responding from those lower vibrations, right? From that fear or that we're lashing out, I hadn't lashed out, but I was in this like emotional, scared rut. It's our inner child. It's not us. It's not the higher, intellectually, emotionally intelligent woman. It's the inner child. So I went inside and I was like, what's going on for you, babe? Like, what's going on for you, kiddo? How is this showing up for you? And she responded that, and I responded, it was like, I'm not, and I get emotional talking about this because it's so real and it's so raw for me right now. And it's so big and it's so beautiful. But she was like, I'm not worthy of like this level. Like this was all the things that we wanted as a little girl. These were the things that we dreamed about, like literally dreamed about. but we don't deserve it. Like, do we really deserve it? And I was walking along the beach and I like had to take a minute and I leant on the beam and I was having tears flow and I was like, fuck, I haven't like wrapped you in that self-worth enough yet. And so from that moment forward, and then walking home and all day today, I have like been stepping into this bigness of self-worth. And so how do you do that, right? Like what's the difference? Confidence for me was making the hire. Let me break this down. Self-confidence was knowing the business was at a position where it could absolutely make a big phenomenal hire, right? That's self-confidence. Having the lady balls to bring someone in and know that you've got the jobs, the tasks, the income, everything to keep them busy, to pay their job, to look after their livelihood, to do all those things. Self-worth is knowing that what's going to come from this, you deserve. That new level, that new income, that new success, that the new business, the time freedom, the just all of it, it's knowing that you're worthy of it. And I hadn't done that work yet, right? New levels, new devils. This was a new level, and I hadn't actually bridged the gap between where I was and where I know I'm going to go and been an energetic match for that. So today I have worked on just knowing that I'm worthy. And how I literally do that is I've acknowledged it. And 9 times out of 10, we're stuck where we are because we simply haven't acknowledged it. You're stuck in trauma, you're stuck in fear, you're stuck in pain, you're stuck in anger, you're stuck in trauma, a trauma loop, whatever it is, because you simply haven't acknowledged it and given it a voice and a name, allowed it to come up, marinated in it, and then processed it, right? So the minute that I could articulate, like, fuck, what this is for me is I'm actually scared. Okay, why am I scared? With no story and no judgment attached, it was like, oh, what's about to come from bringing this weapon of a woman in, this beast, Katie, is enormous and exciting, but I hadn't processed and basically allowed myself to feel worthy of what I know is going to come, because now I get to work as a CEO and not basically work as an employee of my companies, which is what I have honestly done for 13 years. So I've been in the trenches. I have been there, done that, wrote the book, worked late, worked hard, worked 13 years, 11 full time, but 13 not full time. So 11 years as an entrepreneur, working for myself, by myself, sometimes doing, 7 days a week, 15-hour days, taking all of the risk, which I still am, that hasn't changed. But now bringing someone in that I've never had in my entire entrepreneurial journey and alleviating myself of some of the day-to-day stresses, I hadn't become a vibrational match for feeling worthy of that, which is wild. And so today I had the epiphany, self-confidence, self-worth and self-confidence are two pieces of the same puzzle, but two completely separate entities and two separate things, but we absolutely need both. And the way that I looked at it when I was walking, I was like, self-worth is the concrete slab. Say we're going to build a house, right? Self-worth is the concrete slab. You cannot build a house on sand, right? Now, if your foundation is sand, and then so let me say this. Self-worth is the slab that you build the house on. Self-confidence is the house. This is the way that I looked at it. Now, you can have the biggest house, the flashiest house, the most expensive house, AKA you can have the loudest self-confidence, the most self-confidence, the biggest self-confidence, the flashiest self-confidence, which is your house. But if you have built any of that on shitty and shaky foundations, that house is sinking, sis. That house is going down. So for me, I have upgraded my mansion. I have upgraded my self-confidence. I made a hire. I've given pay rises. I've done all those things. But I had not fortified and solidified, added a new level of concrete, because that's my slab, to the foundation of my house, which is my self-worth, right? Every time I make a new, what are they called? Like renovations to my mansion. So my new renovation of self-confidence is like, I've made a hire. I've finally brought someone pretty much full-time into the team. When I've done that, I made a reservation. I built that house on shaky foundations because I actually hadn't done the work internally. Nothing is external. I am not the success of what is to come from that. But I had not done the inner work, the internal work of self-worth to allow myself to become the vibrational match to meet the level of success that will and can come from that. Now, if I don't continue to do this work, which again is just acknowledging I have felt scared, the minute that I acknowledged that, it was like, that took about 8 hours to process for me. This is why it's like quick, right? Because I've done this now, this work for like over 10 years. But that was a big one for me. Like sometimes I can process in a minute. Like it's just like I feel it, I allow it to come up, it's out. I'm like, it's gone. This one stuck around for a hot minute. And it wasn't until I was really on the walk that it all clicked into place for me, that the self-worth and the self-confidence landed. And I was like, that's what it is. I've had all the self-confidence in the world. I've been excited about it, like promoted, wrong word, like shouted out about it, where Katie and I are in action about it, but which is all external. Self-confidence, all external, the house, but internal, the foundation, the self-worth, I had not solidified and fortified that and brought my own, like laid a new pad, brought my own vibration up to the level that I need to of self-worth. Like I deserve someone to come into my companies now and look after me and them. I deserve the level of income that will now flow in because I'm not working so heavily in the companies, and I can now rightfully finally come out and be that visionary CEO that I am so brilliant at. That is my abso-fucking-lute zone of genius. I am a visionary. I am a big picture, big decision maker, like big risk taker. That's who I am. But when I'm stuck in customer service, returns, emails, daily, just all of the nitty gritty, just all of it, anything and everything you can think of, marketing, social, DMs, customer service, all of it, you cannot be a clear channel and vessel for the big picture and the vision. You just can't. So that's my epiphany, you guys. That's the work that I've been in the last 12 hours. And it was this beautiful realization that self-worth and self-confidence are sisters for sure. It's the house and the foundation. And you can have all of the loudest, greatest, most savage, fakest, but still powerful self-confidence in the world. You can make the hire, publish the book, win the lottery, lose the weight. You can do all those like, yes, I've got this decisions, and like, get the fuck out of my way. Let me reintroduce myself. Right? All of the flash and the lights and the shit, right? But the good shit that we see as the external front of people, which is that self-confidence. What's really going on, and this is what I realized today, is like, but what's actually happening on the inside? Where is your level of self-worth at to become a magnet, to magnetize and become a vibrational match for the noise that you're actually putting out? So for me, it was like, I've got a new hire. I've got this staff member. She's a beast. She's a weapon. She's a bad bitch. Like, okay, cool. That's awesome. She's going to be working in the company so I can work on the company. That all sounds phenomenal and it's all true. But I had actually not worked on the deeper inner level of, and also guess what? I deserve all of this. And hey, guess what? Like the inner whisper, I'm a magnetic match for the success and the wealth and the breath and the freedom that I'm going to get back in my life now. And hey, guess what? It really gets to be this good. And you don't have to have guilt and shame around it. And so that has been a huge, beautiful epiphany for me the last 12 hours. and will continue to be a huge, beautiful epiphany for me. And the beautiful thing about this little lesson that I've lived through personally is that it's just made me acutely aware of how I need to do this now, especially at these new levels. So, Katie's job as well is to start to build a team. So Katie and me, that's again, I am a weapon of a hirer, right? So I'll have my fingers and hands all over that. But Kate, one part of Katie's job is to actually start to build as the companies grow more and more, and we want to buy a warehouse and, do in-house shipping and just all the things, which again is more risk on my shoulders, bigger levels, bigger devils, all of the things. But Katie's, like I just said, also responsible for starting to build a team out as that happens. And so that's going to be a new level again. Like there's going to be more people on the payroll. There's going to be more staff. There's going to be more, more success. And that means that we're doing a lot more shipping and we're bringing in a lot more stock and all of the things. So I can have all of the self-confidence in the world, but it means fuck all, sis, if I'm not working on that self-worth. So self-worth and self-confidence are like new best friends for me. And I've realized that I cannot have one without the other. But as my self-confidence grows, and it is, my self-worth has to come along for the ride. And in fact, it needs to go first, right? It needs to be the gentle inner whisper of actually the moves you're about to make and the noise that you are going to make and the belief that you have in this to work is beautiful and go. And I'm going to set the foundation first. So, as you're making that noise and you're making those claims and you're going after it and you're doing the things and you're being big and you're being loud and you're growing, that you're inherently worthy of it. You're inherently worthy of it. And so with that, I will leave that there, but I just want you to know that you are worth it more than anything. You are worth it. I want you to know that your worth is not determined by your work, right? And this just quickly, actually, I'm going to go one moment, please. As I'm saying all this is still all so extrinsically based, right? Because I'm loud and I'm success and teams and all these things. That is all extrinsic, right? It's all outside of myself. None of those things actually determine my worth. Like I said right at the start, my work does not determine my worth. My income, my car, my relationship, none of that determines my worth. What I do doesn't determine it. Who I am does. But who I am at a molecular level, she needs to know that she's worthy inherently just by being. Like, who am I when no one's watching? Who am I when I make the hire? Who am I when I call in that success? Who am I when I say yes, like to going to move like I love myself or show up for myself when it's hard or I don't feel like it? They're the moments that matter the most. And so the big thing is you are worthy. And what if you just knew simply by existing that you were inherently worthy? That is the question for you to ask without doing anything more, without making any more noise, without reintroducing yourself again. If you just had to work on who you be, not what you do, what would that look like for you today? And what foundation could you build today, starting today, of self-worth? So as you start to get louder and prouder and bigger and take up more space and you build that house higher, how deep and firm can your foundation and structure be below? I will officially leave it there. Thank you, as always, for listening. If you have watched it on YouTube, subscribe, because if you subscribe, I believe it lets you know when a new episode has dropped. And if you are listening on Spotify or iTunes, it always goes the longest way if you leave a review, and I will love you forever. So until next time, remember you are worthy, remember you are loved, and it is always a beautiful day to have a beautiful day. Ciao. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, I hope you got something out of this conversation that you can use to challenge your own status quo. If you liked what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you shared this episode on your socials to help get this podcast more out in the world. Don't forget as well to tag me personally at @thereal_Anna Rose so I can thank you personally. If you're also loving the conversations, leaving a review on iTunes by going to the podcast, scrolling down and clicking leave review will help even more amazing humans that need to find me and these conversations find me. As always, though, I am eternally grateful that you're tuning in. And until the next episode, know that I am always cheering on your sovereignty and success.